What's up guys, it's Mindset Performance Coach Adam Connolly here. In today's video, we're going to talk about when your poker idols become your poker rivals. Now before we dive into today's video, if you do get some value from this, make sure you hit that like button and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. Now this topic was motivated by a message I received a few days ago from a player who told me he's struggling when he plays against well-known players, famous players who have played really high stakes, and they end up playing his games online. All right, generally this is a bit lower in their buy-ins, and he gets overwhelmed. He feels like his mind's just completely flustered, and he doesn't play his best. He's scared to play, and he asked me, Adam, what do you do against these kind of players? And it got me thinking about my own experiences when I was coming up in the heads of sit and goes, and how I had the same fears and negative experiences when I was playing my idols in those formats. Alright, so first of all I'm going to talk about my experiences with dealing with this and how I was able to cope with it, and then I'm going to talk about some practical things that you guys can be doing when you're playing these good players, these famous players, or even just players that you respect. Guys that you think that this guy's really good, how can you approach it in a good way so you can actually play your best poker against these players? Alright, so I started my poker journey in 2011 and I started playing heads up sit and goes. And me and my friends moved to Thailand to live in a cheap environment, and we started hustling, super low stakes, playing $7 games, $15 heads up sit and goes. And the highest stake in my format is $1,000, the $1,000 heads up sit and go lobby. And I used to idolize the players who played those games. So I used to watch those lobbies. And at the time when I was really starting out, there was a guy called IDOLS 112. Or Live B on Full Tilt, and that's Olivier Busquets, who's made loads of money live. He's a really, really good player, and he used to crush the heads up sit and go format, still does, and he was the end boss in that game. And I used to rail his games and watch him play, and he's quite aggro in the chat. He used to always like say stuff in the chat and get people riled up, but I used to just watch him just take people's money, always winning. He used to have a ridiculous win rate, and I remember thinking, I wonder what it feels like to make $1,000 like that. In heads up sit and goes, the games are really quick, and you just make $1,000 super easy and super quick. And I was broke as hell, thinking, wow, that must be amazing. That must feel amazing. Now I go on my poker journey over the next 2-3 years. I start moving up to the mid stakes, and I'm starting to play the $300 games and the 500 games somewhat regular by 2013. And when the lobbies were good, there was none of the good regs around, I'd sneak into the 1Ks. And I remember I snuck into the 1Ks one day, and Adonis 112, Olivier Busquets, sits me. And I remember as soon as he sat me, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And he had a reputation at the time for being quite aggro, and also for getting involved in a few beefs. So if he didn't like you, or you did something that annoyed him, he would sit you and hunt you down. So I was like, oh no, don't do anything bad. So I remember playing this game, and my whole thoughts were, 1, don't piss him off. 2, don't do anything stupid and that looks spewy, and just play quite solid. Alright, I remember the game went by, and I can't remember when I lost the game in all honesty. And then I remember my friends said, oh, you played Adonis 112, is he any good? And I literally remember thinking, I don't actually know. I wasn't even focused on him, I was just focused on me not making mistakes. So that was my first experience with, when you've kind of idolized someone, you've looked up to them as a good player, you can kind of freeze under pressure. Alright, so that was my first experience. The second one was when basically I started to progress to the heads up sit and go 1K games, and I was playing them pretty regularly by 2015. And I was battling anyone who came along. Now, at the time, just prior to that, Dan Coleman, who went by the name of Mr. Green, online Mr. Green 13, he had just torn up the heads up sit and go lobbies. All right, so he basically was the first guy to make $1 million playing heads up sit and goes in one calendar year. And then he was destroying the games. He basically for 6 months tore up all the regs, and then for a year just basically owned the lobbies for 12 hours a day, and was just crushing anyone who came online. And he played multiple regs, he played 6 tables for 12 hours against just anybody. And I was just remember watching the carnage of that unfold and thinking, wow, this guy's an absolute sicko. Then the one drop happens, and I'm not sure you guys can remember, but in 2014, Dan Coleman wins the one drop. I think it was the first one drop for 15 million. Beats Daniel Negreanu heads up. And then he starts playing a lot live. Alright, so in the heads up sit and go world, this left quite a big void in the 1K lobbies, because this guy was playing 12 hours every day, having the lobbies. With him gone, the 1K lobby was a little bit free. So that was an opportunity for me to, so my other friends went into those 1K games and started battling them regularly. Alright, so I was playing them pretty much every day for 3 months at the start of 2015. Now Dan Coleman's doing his other stuff, he's playing like the one drop, doing all the high stakes live tournaments, and I thought maybe he won't come back to online because he might not have the motivation for it. So I think it's March of April time of 2015. It's a Saturday night. I'm just getting ready for a big grinding session against the fish. And then Mr. Green comes online and just loads me up on all my tables. And I've got 4 tables loaded up with him in no time. Now, I was getting a bit of confidence in my game at this time, but I instantly went, oh shit, here we go. And my initial thoughts were, again, don't mess up, don't make mistakes. I'm about to be found out. He's going to say how weak I am. He's going to hunt me down. And in heads up sitting goes, if you have got a weakness, like say if a player does see you as a weak player or just thinks that they can pick you apart, they will just sit you over and over. So there is a little bit more pressure in the heads up sitting go format. But I remember the first 10 minutes, I was just like, play solid, don't make mistakes. And I was obsessed with my image and not looking bad. As the games progressed, we played for like maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours at that time. I remember I got more comfortable, maybe half an hour in, or 15, 20 minutes in, and I started to be like, actually let's stop thinking about myself. What's he doing? How's he playing? I started to counter-strategize him. But for the first 15 minutes, I was literally in don't make mistakes mode. And I remember I got to one spot on the river, and it was a really good bluff spot. It was like a spot I'd been working on. I knew it was a good bluff spot. And I remember hesitating, and I didn't pull the trigger. And I remember stopping and thinking, why did you not pull the trigger? Like, it was a good bluff spot. You've worked in the spot. You know it was a good spot. But I didn't want to look spewy. I didn't want to be called down light and him to think I was spewing off. All right? So that was me, like, trying to deal with, like, basically, I had him as a real good player. I didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to look bad. As a result, it was affecting my game. Like I said, as I played him more and got a bit more of a sample, I started to ease into my game and start thinking more about his game than my own. But it was a problem to begin with. All right, so I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to playing guys, whether it's someone you've idolized in your format, whether it's someone who's got a big online presence or they've had lots of live caches, and you play them, you're like, oh shit, it's this guy. All right, the guy I was talking to, he said he's got about 5 or 6 guys who are in this category, and yeah, it's one of those things where you get taken out of your comfort zone. So, what do you do? How do you deal with this, and how do you handle the best way? Well, first of all, we've got to look at what the problem is. The problem is that your ego is getting involved in many ways. First of all, there's a lot of fear. All right. So for myself, it was fear of making mistakes. It was fear of looking bad. It was fear of almost like imposter syndrome. Like, I'm going to find out, and finding someone's going to destroy me and see how bad I am, and make me bad. Next thing, he might hunt me down or write notes on me and see how bad I am. And all these fears were about him judging me. All right. So when you're playing these good players or these kind of high stakes players, all your thoughts are around you and how they perceive you. All right, your fears are all around not looking bad and not making mistakes, and you're treating it like it's a big audition or it's an interview, and like they're judging you. All right, like, all right, I'm judging you. And in reality, that's not what's happening. All right, so the first thing we need to do is realize, wait a second, all these fears I'm having, they're coming from me trying to protect my ego and me having fears about making mistakes and being found out. All my attention is on me. All right, this is what happened to me when I was playing Mr. Green. I was focusing on what I was doing. Don't make mistakes. Don't do this. Now, to change that, the first thing you got to do is you got to flip the lens. Instead of thinking about you, think about them. All right, start thinking about them. So, how would that work? Well, first of all, if you're playing a good high stakes player, either one or two things is happening. Either they're really good and you can learn from them, or they're not as good as you thought they were and you can get maybe some edge on them, or you can be competitive with them. So either way, the objective should be, okay, let's focus on them. All right, so when you sit down with a really good player, instead of you worrying about you making mistakes, be the student. They can be the teacher in this role, and you're learning. All right, so ask yourself, what can I learn from this guy? So what I started doing when I played good players is I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. All right, what can I learn? And I got really curious about playing the good players because that's how you learn the most. Okay, so instead of you fearing making mistakes, switch the narrative and switch your frame of reference to them. What is he doing? How is he responding to my strategy? What's he doing to exploit me? What size is he using? What's his frequencies? How is he trying to play against me? And really, really pay attention to that. Once you start doing that, your mind is now on them. All right, and it's such a difference. All right, it makes the world of difference from you focused on yourself and you make mistakes to them and what you can learn from them. Changes the game. All right, so start asking yourself, what can I learn? And remind yourself every time you're playing, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to learn. Like I said, either one or two things. Either this player's amazing and you're going to learn lots from them. Like, this guy's doing all sorts of stuff that's going to spark your mind to go into study sessions, to hand review, to look at stuff. Or perhaps they're not as good as you thought they were. Perhaps like, all right, he's decent, but he's not that good. And what you realize is with these players, they're just human. They're human just like you. They've got some strengths in their game, they've got some weaknesses in their game, they've got some good stuff that they do well, there's some mistakes that they make, just like you. They might be at a higher level than you, maybe better than you, awesome. Then what can you learn from them? All right, I think once you start to approach it that way, it drops the pressure. It stops the ego. It stops the audition, the interview. Remember, it's not about you. It's about you getting better and you learning. If in this session, when you play, say when I played Dan Coleman at that time, if he was way better than me and he crushed me and just destroyed me for 10, 15 buy-ins, okay, awesome, he destroyed me. What can I learn from that? If I learn from that, improved and become a better player, awesome, expensive lesson, but it was worth it because I'm improving and getting better. All right, so don't judge any particular hand, any particular spot, any particular moment is any more than an opportunity to learn. And as soon as you are getting fearful, getting annoyed, getting frustrated, or worrying about stuff, realize all the attachments on me. My identity, my ego is being threatened. I need to switch my focus to them. And ask yourself, what can I learn from this player? What can he teach me? What stuff can I pick up that's going to help me become a better player? As soon as you do that, everything drops. All the ego drops, the attachments drop, and you become a student who's curious and wants to learn. If you can do that, lo and behold, you'll start playing good poker, and you'll find out where they're good, where they're bad, and very often you'll find that they're generally not that much better. All right, not that much better than you. They might have some parts of their game which are more evolved and better. They might have lots of parts of the game which are better, but they have some parts of the game where they're maybe not as good as you. All right, then all of a sudden you start to become a rival of theirs where you want to compete with them. Rather than idolize them, you're like, oh, actually, wait a second, I think I can do this better than you. I can pick you up here. I think you're weak in this spot. Especially in heads-up sitting goals, it's all about almost like chess, like a strategy and a counter strategy. You can start to pick leaks in their game whilst they're also trying to pick leaks in yours. And then it becomes a rivalry rather than idolizing them. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a comment below to let me know which players, if there's any, you're willing to name, who you're currently idolizing, who you've played against, who you struggle. Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to know who you guys are classing as the best players, who you struggle when you play against them, and what happens when you play against these guys. Do you worry about mistakes? Do you stop making bluffs? Do you bluff more? Tell me through how you adapt when you play against these good players or your idols. Alright guys, thanks for watching this. If you did like this video, make sure you hit the like button before you go. Also, if you're a poker player, want to know how to level up your poker mindset, click on the link below and there's a short quiz that will tell you what level you're at right now with your mindset, and it'll give you some tips on how to start working on it to build a better mindset that's built for poker. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and there's going to be plenty more coming from me very soon.